Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beginnings, the show that asks, where do creative people come from? My name is Andy. I'm the host of the show and a writer and performer based in Los Angeles, California. The heat has broken, folks. How are you doing? I guess climate change is fake. I guess it's fake. The heat broke. It was only up to 105 or so last week here, where I am in Los Angeles. In the Valley, I think it was like 115 or something like that. But it only lasted a week, so I guess it ain't real. Haha. Anyway, folks, how you doing? What's going on with you? Wonderful episode today. I talked to two of the members of the band Los Bitchos, Josephine Johnson and Agustina Ruiz. And if you don't know who Josephine and Agustina are, if you don't know who Los Bitchos are, I'm going to read you their bio right now. Originally from Sweden and Uruguay, respectively, Josephine and Agustina formed the London-based Los Bitchos in 2017, along with Sarah Patel and Nick Crenshaw. Their first album, Let the Festivities Begin! Was released in 2022 to widespread acclaim, and their latest, Talkie Talkie, just came out at the end of August on City Slang Records. And folks, it's a delight. I remember when I first heard Los Bitchos, and it really struck a chord in me, reminded me of a lot of music coming out of Britain in the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, obviously I didn't exist then. Or was at some point, a small infant. But I mean, in adulthood, when I was discovering the music of that era in the UK. I think, though, what really got me about them is watching live videos of the band perform, is seeing how much fun they're having on stage, which, especially if you're someone who was brought up in the 90s in indie rock, watching a lot of those bands on stage, they were high energy, but I don't know if there was palpable joy in a lot of those bands on stage, whereas I can see the joy emanating off of everyone watching Los Bitchos play. And I think that translates. I think that is infused in the music. And this was just a lovely talk. Josephine and Agustina grew up in different countries, yet we talk about how their childhoods were somewhat similar. Josephine's parents owned a horse riding school. Agustina was a punk and a model. Seems disparate, but maybe there's something thematic that links them. Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out, folks, in this episode. So I hope you enjoy it. Also, if you're here in the U.S., they are on tour towards the end of this month into early October. Let's see here. Where are we at? 9/22, Washington, D.C., 9/23, Philadelphia, 9/26, New York, 9/27, Montreal, 9/29, Toronto, 10/1, Seattle, and 10/3 here in my new adopted hometown, Los Angeles, California. I'm sure you can get tickets if you go to their website. And if you do go see them live, please wear a mask, folks. Please wear masks. Coco numbers are still up. By the way, got some great episodes coming up on the show. Speaking of talking to other pairs, I just talked to Angry Black Men, wonderful hip-hop duo out of Chicago-ish, even though they're in different places now. Roy Montgomery, brilliant guitarist from New Zealand. That was a great talk. Rose Melberg of the Softies and indie comics artist John Pham, just talked to him, and that was super interesting. So stay tuned for those, but for now, let's talk to Josephine and Agustina. Do you want to introduce yourselves, because so people know your voices?
I'm Josephine, and I play bass in Los Bitchos.
Hi, I'm Agustina, and I play keyboard in Los Bitchos.
Okay, thanks. That way people know the different voices. Here's the thing. Whenever I have more than one guest on, I'm curious, what do you know about each other's childhoods? Anything?
Quite a lot, I guess. Yeah.
We did talk about it quite, randomly sometimes, I feel. Like I know a fair bit about you.
Yeah.
Was that part of your bonding? We'll talk about our expatriate status?
We spend so much time together. I feel like there are very few topics we haven't covered,
Yeah.
to be honest. But I don't know. One thing we keep saying to each other is how kind of, even though we grew up on very different parts of the world, I go from Uruguay and I'm Sweden. We actually have so much in common in terms of like how we've been raised, or like our parents are quite similar, which is quite weird. And not weird, but like it's quite trippy. Like, because I met Agostina's parents, Agostina's met my parents. So yeah, we're definitely made connections there.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because obviously if you have a similar childhood as well, you can relate to very similar things as well.
Mm.
So it's very...
Tell me, how is Sweden, Europe, and post-dictatorship Uruguay? How are those similar?
Well, Uruguay hasn't been a dictatorship like in 30 years, so it's kind
Right,
of like,
post-date. I said post.
Actually,
I wasn't. I've read my
yeah.
Wikipedia articles.
yeah. So I didn't grow up in a country that felt like it was dictatorship, that it just came out of a dictatorship or anything like that. I don't know, or at least like I didn't feel it. Like Uruguay is a very democratic country right now. We're very proud of that, so it never felt like that.
Right. Or you were born, let me guess, 90s?
Yeah, 90.
Yeah. I mean, that was already...
Spot on.
I know my Gen Z guests when I see them.
Millennials over
Early?
here.
You're early?
Yeah,
Okay, you're
yeah.
young millennials. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're 90s kids. So okay. So, but how are those two? How, South America and Europe? Talk to me. How are those similar?
Countries can be similar and can be like in different continents. I think that Uruguay is not also the typical South American country what people think it is, or culturally, because we are a colony from Europe. We have like all this Spanish, French, English, Portuguese, like Italian influences. So like we don't have native people. They kill them all. So it's basically a European colony.
I feel the connections we've made is more sort of maybe on like a family to family level than country to country.
Yeah.
I don't know. Although saying that, like sometimes we found like some sweet, like some Uruguayan product. It's like you can only buy it in Sweden or something. Like the dulce de leche. Like mom, like you've been hunting that down for like years. Like living in the UK, it's kind of hard to get hold of, at least the right brand, right? And yeah, could find that in the Swedish supermarket, like stuff like that. It's like weird. But also I think, yeah, we sort of, I don't know, it's like your granddad was like a cowboy. And
Wait, what? Really?
It was like outro.
Really?
Yeah.
That's something like
So
I
cool.
learned about in like a textbook in like high school. I think I remember the gauchos. Really?
Yeah, my granddad was a gaucho. Well, his family were gauchos.
Wow.
It's so cool. And yeah, my family is also very into horses and have been for a while.
Right,
So
didn't
we
they
kind of
run
had
like
the connection of growing up around horses.
Yeah,
it's been pretty
the countryside.
Didn't they run like a pony riding school or something like that?
My parents, yeah, they do. Very wholesome.
Yes, we stayed there last year and it was very nice.
Yeah, we had a whole London crew friends trip come to my parents for their 60th birthday party.
Wow.
It's very random. It was like 25 of us, and it was really fun. Yeah.
How'd your parents feel about 24 strangers?
Oh, they loved it. It's like their dream. They had about 300 people attending their party in total. So, they love to party. The more the
Really?
merrier. Yeah, they're a bit nuts.
Wait, were they like that when you were growing up?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Every sort of 40, 50, 60, now 60, they've had these insane blow up parties. They don't do much in between, but they go hard every 10 years, which is great.
Were they party people when they were younger?
I think so. Yeah. They definitely had, at least, I don't know. My dad's definitely very sort of, I don't know, he loves to put on some sort of event or show for whatever excuse he can come up with. And then I think my mum just sort of happily tags along and they're very good sport for a good party. It's fun.
What does that actually mean when, like, in my mind, like a party person here in America is at a club on ketamine or MDMA or something like that. And that's obviously like more of a modern thing. What would that mean in, I don't know, 1980s
Oh,
Sweden,
good question.
1970s Sweden
Good question.
to be party people?
I mean, I sadly wasn't around, so I feel like I'd probably get some sort of censored version if I did ask them. But I can imagine they would have had a pretty good time.
Are they? So they don't tell you stuff like, is there a, do you have, and Agostine, I'm going to ask you the same question then. So be prepared for this. Do you have good boundaries with your parents? Like where there's a very defined parent-child relationship and they're just not going to tell you certain things, or are they way too open, or something in between?
They're very open, my parents. I'm very open with them as well.
What about you, Josephine?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been like a very healthy sort of parent-child relationship growing up. But I do think they've been very, like they're very open and like they don't sort of, no, I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. I like Ago. It's like it's been pretty. God, I don't actually know how to answer that question. Yeah, I mean they're really chilled and they've included us in a lot of things. They haven't sort of, like growing up, like we were all at, whatever social events they were, and they weren't sort of like, oh, the kids can't see this. Like they're just like, here you go, this is life. Join the party.
Yeah.
This is life. Join the party. See, no, this is the thing. Even now in adulthood, I have a very, like, my parents are authorities. They are still authorities in my life. And now, I mean, look, I've been through therapy for a decade. I'm healthier. So I'm able to create boundaries with them where I can say, even though you are an authority, no, I'm not going to do this thing that you want me to do. Like when my wife and I got married, there were certain things they wanted, and I was just like, we're not doing that. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, that's fair.
We're paying for this. You guys can like it or lump it. Like that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
This is how we're doing this. I'm not inviting everyone you ever met to the wedding. Like we're not doing that. So I had to, there's certain things like that. But do you have those kind of boundaries with your parents? Do you like when you say that you're pretty open with them, can you give me an example? Start with you, Josephine, and then we'll go to you, Augustine. Can you give me an example of something that you're okay telling them, or that they're okay telling you?
Oh God. This is hard. Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I'm asking this. Yeah, while you're thinking, I'll tell you why because I'm trying to figure out if this is an outside America thing. Here in America, we all got sticks up our butts. And so everyone's real tight and everyone's real like emotionally closed off. And I think that's a general kind of thing. Not everyone, obviously, but I think that's a general spirit that winds its way through our shitty country. And I'm curious if this is different for you personally, if there's a kind of just national character in either Sweden or Uruguay that is different. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to triangulate and figure out like
or we have like weird families.
Yeah. Exactly. So is there something that, like your parents are like Josephine, I mean, there's parties. My parents had parties here when I was a kid and like, they drank. It's not like they're like, they're teetotalers, but they were never like, I never saw anything crazy. Like, no one was like swinging from a chandelier or like doing coke off of a table or something like that.
No, that is absolutely not the case in my family either. It's definitely more wholesome than that.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like wholesome things. I think like it's the fact that, I don't know, you can talk about things. I don't know, my parents were always really open about sexuality and like wear a condom and, just things that like families can be a taboo, but they were also very open about it. And I think it's very good because it doesn't make it like a bad thing. And you learn and they educate you. Like, it's not like, oh, let's not talk about sex. Like, yeah, I'm going to have sex at some point in my life. So let's just talk about it. Or things like that in relationships or friendships or stuff like that. But not in the sense of drugs or that. No, my parents are like, no.
Yeah, same. My parents like to drink, but that's about it. That's as far as it goes. But yeah, no, same. Like, I feel like with setting boundaries, I've never felt like I've had to come to a point where I'm like, no, you can't do this or you can't come to this. So it's like, I think that that just hasn't been something that's been required in our relationship because I think they're quite good at reading the room in terms of what I want and need from them and vice versa. So I think it's like, yeah, I'm quite impressed with how they've done that because yeah, I don't feel sort of I need to correct their behavior in towards like our relationship is quite it's worked out quite well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
For both of you now, is this also, can you have an emotional conversation with them? Can you tell them how you're feeling? And can they tell you how they're feeling and it's not uncomfortable?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I think we like if there is something going on in someone's life that we're like worried about or it's really yeah, something that is affecting their day to day or whatever, like we totally talk about it. And that's quite an open conversation for sure.
Same thing with you, Agustina?
Yeah, same. I'm very open about. And also, I think because we live in different countries, we also like need that kind of support as well. And yeah, always like if something is going on in my life or their life, we just talk about it. So I had a chat with my dad yesterday for like 2 hours on the phone talking about like life and stuff.
This is fascinating. I live across the country from my parents. And it's just like, I'm like, a month goes by and I'm like, I guess I should give them a call. I love them. So just so we're clear, it's not a bad relationship, but I'm just like, I just don't want to like, I don't want to deal with it. Whereas this is why this is interesting, which is you guys are just like, yeah, I spent 2 hours on the phone with them talking about all kinds of things. And I'm just like, hit a stopwatch. And I'm just like, when we hit 10 minutes and I'm like, I guess we're done with
Gotta go.
Yeah,
Whatever yeah. I mean, yeah, like sometimes it goes weeks before I actually speak on the phone with either of my parents and I don't know, I find like it can be quite funny sometimes, like you don't speak for weeks and then suddenly like I have a missed call from mum or something and then like I can't pick it up so I leave it and then I have like 3 more missed calls and she's like, are you alive? Like it's kind of like spirals quickly like shit, we haven't heard from her in 2 weeks. But I think now but by this point it's like quite normal to for at least for me to like yeah a couple of weeks go and then someone is like, hey, we haven't come up for a while or yeah is cool for whatever reason. But yeah.
Okay. Well, wait. Where did you grow up? Like, what city did each of you grow up in? Was it one city? Did you move around a lot?
I grew up basically in Montevideo, but then my grandmother lived in the countryside, so I spent like half of my life I spent all my life like going back and forth, like 4 days in Montevideo, 3 days in the countryside, the whole summers in the countryside. Yeah, it was kind of like a mix.
Okay. What about you, Josephine?
Same. I've lived my whole life before London in Norrköping, which is a small, like not too small, but it's a town in Sweden. Yeah.
Is that like north part of like how far up?
It's south of Stockholm. It's like a 2-hour drive south of Stockholm on the east coast. So it's like a little bump, and I'm just underneath the bump.
What I want to pinpoint here is this openness. Is this a you thing? Is this the area you grew up in, or is this a national character? Do you see the 3 levels that I'm trying to figure out?
Yeah.
And I'm posing this question to you. If you go to another, Augustina, if you go to another part of Uruguay, is everyone kind of the same, or is it just like, this? I grew up in giant city, the capital. So that's what its city life is like. Or this is my family thing, and actually everyone's different.
I think my friends' families are the same, but I'm not sure like everyone in Euro is like that. But I guess if I compare it to, for example, England, yeah, I think Uruguay is more open in those kind of things. But to know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry,
yeah, I'm asking you to know the emotional character of an entire country. So I know it's. What about you, Josephine, though? I know it's not a real, you can't really answer it, but I'm curious just to like figure out like.
I think our family dynamic and communication stuff, obviously it's an individual thing, so it's a very generalization, but I do think it's pretty common. Yeah. Like most of my friends that I speak to, they have a very similar relationship to their parents, but that can obviously differ because everyone's different.
Because I think the thing that I'm curious about is, if you're this emotionally open with your parents, and were you both like this when you were growing up, where you could talk about your feelings when you were growing up?
I had an awkward teenage phase, I'm sure, where I was maybe not so open about it, and maybe
not teenage times, that's for sure.
Yeah, like I think it's more of like a later in life thing when you're just like an adult and you also then treat your parents like you just realize like they're just adult, they're just trying to figure shit out as well, and so are you, so you kind of figure it out together. But I think that is just like a maturity thing. I think if you asked me like when I was 16 or something, I'd be like, ew, I don't know, I don't want to talk about everything with them. But now I'm like, well, we're all adults here, let's just talk about what's going on.
Because I'm curious, when it comes to like deciding what you want to do with your life, do you feel pressure from them to do anything specific, or are they just very, hey, do whatever you want?
I think there was some expectations from my mom, me growing up, to be a certain way. And then I started getting tattoos very young, and now it sounds very like lame, but at the time it was like, and she got really upset about that. And I had a punk band as well, and she was like, I was 16 getting tattoos in a punk band, and she was like, what are you doing? And then I guess she realized that that's what I wanted to do, and like whatever I did, like I put an effort in it, and like I ended up like surviving in a way. So she kind of accept that, but she was never like a pain in the ass. It was more like a mom being a mom in that sense. And I think my dad, and I'm saying this because I have talked with them about this, I think my dad was more flexible and more accepting. It's more like, what do you want to do? And asking me more things about what do I wanted to do without the judgment.
What did your parents do for a living when you were growing up?
My dad was works for the YMCA, like director, I don't know, something like that. I don't know. And my mom works for a thing that I don't know how to say in English. I've never learned how to say in English. It's I don't think it even exists. It's like when you buy a house and then like you have to like sign all the things, and like when you get a herencia, like heritage and stuff like that.
Like an escrow agent or a notary I'll say a bunch of different
notary.
things.
It's a notary. It is
like a solicitor, but for property.
Yeah, no, for family stuff. I don't know. It's like a notary, similar to a notary, but it has a different name in UI.
Like she's a lawyer or no? Okay, so not a lawyer. Okay, great. So not a solicitor. No. So then, so the person. Okay, my wife and I are going through this because we're thinking of getting a house. So there's the escrow person who is the.
Yeah. Oh my god, I never heard that. Okay, it's escribano in Spanish.
So what's an escrow?
So like you put the money so that like it's almost like a drug deal in a certain sense, where like someone is like handing you and I'm a teetotaler. I've never even smoked pot, so I'm talking about what I've seen on TV. But like, where someone like you buy, they like you give them the money and or like a hostage deal. You give them the money and the hostage at the same time, so that like no one gets screwed over. So escrow is like this account where you put the money in so that it gets released to the people who you're buying the house from.
Oh yeah, I get you.
So that you can't just renege on it.
Yeah.
Right. And then once the title, they get the money once you get the title, and that way they can't like say like, oh, we got your money. Sorry, you don't have a house.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that makes sense.
Escrow.
Okay. Learned something today. Thank you.
So, I mean, those are pretty buttoned down jobs, or just like normal jobs. So I could see where like being in a punk band might be like strange to them.
Yeah. Also because my mom grew up in a really poor family, so I think she wanted her daughter, and she took me to a very good school. So she put a lot of effort and money and energy on me to have an education. And then I was like, she was like, for fuck's sake, But it ended up being well. It was all okay.
What made you want to do that as opposed to play music? Was there anything else that you were thinking of and music took over, or was it always music?
I always wanted to do music. I always wanted to be in a band from a child. I would go to bed like 5 years old and just think about having a band.
Was it something particular? I mean, it's obvious. Like mostly, it's always obvious when it's like me. when it's anything in the arts, I'm just like, yeah, I can see why as a child anyone would want to do any of this stuff. But like, Was there something particular, or was it just that that emotionally resonated with you, or you saw someone and you're like, oh, I want to do that? Or was it, just like the same kind of like, I want to be an astronaut, except you actually went and did it? Does that make sense?
I think, yeah, I think it's because I love music. I love music so much, and it saved me in so many ways that I always thought like, oh, this is. I also wanted to be a writer when I was younger because I love reading. So I was like, it's just, I think the things that save you and make you feel better, you just want to go do them. So since I'm a child, it was always like, I don't know, I love the Beatles since I'm like a child. For me, the Beatles was like a big part of my life, and I just wanted to do it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I try to figure out on this show is millions of people have that desire, but then they don't do it. So what is it about my guests where they had not just the desire, but the moxie? Does that translate? Had the get up and go to actually do it. Like when you say it saved you, do you mean that metaphorically, or do you literally mean that like you were going in a certain direction and you were like, and music helped get you off of that direct, or like you were depressed and music helped get you out of depression, or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's more metaphorically, but yeah, obviously, like I think when I was depressed, music really helped me, and I just want to, I don't know, in my life, I've always been like, if I want to do something, I kind of like do it. I don't think much, things like that. I'm quite impulsive. So I'm like, I want to do this. And then I go do it. And then it might not work out, but I just do it. So I think that's the reason why I did it.
And see, I'm not impulsive because when I am impulsive, it works out badly. And so
It can go really badly as well.
Josephine.
Yes.
How did your parents end up owning is there a better word for this or phrase? Pony riding school.
That's the phrase.
That's the phrase.
So my mom has been like into horses since she was really, really young, and became sort of really good and interested in it. So she's just sort of always pursued that line of work. So she's I don't know, she's absolutely bossing it in the horse world, being a riding school teacher. And she basically set up this riding school, I think 30 years ago or something, and it's just sort of grown in and just became her sort of main career and her sort of business that she's running. But then my dad, he used to work overseas, so he used to be a sea captain.
What?
Yeah, really random. So he did that for uni, and when you're sort of overseas working on these ships for most of our like toddler years, and then after a while he got sort of upset that he was kind of missing us growing up, because they would be away 3 months and then home 3 months and then away. And 3 months when you have a toddler is quite a long time. So I think he got sort of fed up with that. So he was like, you know what, I'm just going to come home and I'm going to help and build this family business, which is the riding school. So yeah, they've been sort of running that together as a family business.
You have the most 18th century parents that I've ever heard on this show. An equestrian and a sea captain.
That's it.
It's amazing.
I never thought about it like that.
Is equestrian in Sweden, is that as posh as it is here in the US?
No. So yeah, I always feel like the need of clarifying this, because especially in the UK, I think the moment you say you had horses, you're like, oh my God, she's a millionaire, or very, old money somewhere. But it really isn't. I think in Sweden it's very different. It's the second biggest sport in general by youths and in the country. So it's huge, and it's really accessible, and it is like you really, really do not have to have money to be able to do it, because it's just like, it's a huge country with super small population, and it doesn't sort of, you don't basically need loads of money to be able to do it. And I think, like our family really do not, like we come from a very kind of working class background, both on my mum and dad's side. So this is just something they've managed to sort of build in their lifetime together, which is cool.
Well, then how fraught was the decision to go into music? And then, well, I'll ask that first, and then I have another question.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a curveball that no one foresaw. Because I didn't really like, we're not a musical household at all. And I wasn't really interested in music until my sort of late teens, like 15. I would just not, I don't know, it just went sort of over my head. I didn't really engage with it. I would just listen to the radio maybe, but I didn't sort of set out to go to gigs or anything before. But then I went to school and we had a really good music teacher when we were like, yeah, 14, 15. And he sort of at the end of the school year, instead of doing these like most commonly like more classical music lessons and stuff that you usually associate with learning music in school, he did like, right, everyone's gonna start a band and we're gonna do a rock show at the end of the year. And we were like, cool, that sounds great. So that happened, but then at the same time, I think my two best friends, Lynn and Leah, who are twins, we've been like attached to the hip since we were like 6. And so, yeah, they got really into music and they sort of like took me with them, if that makes sense. So they introduced me to a lot of bands and they were like, oh, let's go to these gigs. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And yeah, so around that time we were like, we should start a band. And we did. And then now we all still in bands and still in music today. So that's quite fun.
Did you have something you wanted to do before that moment and that took you off that path? Or did you not, was that like a defining moment where you're like, oh, I kind of now have something I'd like to do with my life or something I'm at least interested in?
Yeah, I think I was just so caught up in like the riding school world, you know, like I'm just like a countryside bumpkin. I was like, I don't know, maybe one day I'll take over this little cute pony riding school. That would be my mum's dream. But I didn't really think of it that much. I wasn't feeling any sort of pressure. I think I'm very much part of the generation where it's like anything is possible. You can be whatever you want. And then you're like, I don't know what that is. So I had no idea. So I didn't think it sort of took me away from a path. I think if anything, it just sort of carved out a new one, like something from nothing. So that's good.
Yeah. The thing is, you grew up in a time where the music industry was kind of cratering. So it's not, it's always risky. Like whether someone succeeds or not is kind of luck a little bit.
Yeah.
But especially in the 21st century, I think there's this added risk. You know, my industry right now, TV and film is cratering, is like really just falling apart. And it always felt a little risky. And now we're just like biting our nails being like, I hope we can pay our bills next year. And I'm curious if that, I mean, I'm guessing, Agustina, you said you're impulsive. So maybe the idea of the risk either didn't matter or was part of the excitement of it. But I'll ask both of you, you know, was that ever a thing where you like thought about it and it deterred you? Or was it like once you got this thought in your head or this desire in your head, you're like, no, this is the path?
I feel like, I mean, I moved to London when I was 18. And the reason I did that, and that was to do music for a year. So I sort of always studied really like what you say, like sensible subjects in school. So I did like social science, like and economics in high school and stuff. And then before going to uni, I didn't know what I wanted to do in uni. And I also thought like, whilst I've been doing these like kind of normal, boring subjects, a lot of my friends were doing a lot of creative, more music related or film related subjects. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to just give myself at least a year before I go to uni to have this kind of gap year where I actually do something I just think is fun, not just for being sensible. So that's when I decided to move to London and study music for a year. And I think at that point I was only like 18, so I don't think you sort of overthink it, but I was still thinking, oh, it's just a gap year, and then, you know, I'll probably go to uni and do something sensible again. I didn't end up going to uni, and it sort of snowballed into just staying in London. I'm now been here for like 12 years, but I definitely still today have this, like, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket when it comes to music. I think I'm always prepared that, whatever good stuff's happening to music is eventually going to come to an end. So I think I'm always sort of building my safety net on the side. And I always have. So I think that's just like part of my brain. I think I'm a little bit opposite to Christine. I'm like, I overthink everything a little bit and sort of create this, total safety net. So that if everything hits up with the music and we're not doing music tomorrow, like I have a game plan. And by having that sort of makes me feel I can enjoy the music a lot more because it takes that pressure off. Which, that works for me anyway.
I get it. I guess, what about you? Was I right?
Yeah, no, I do believe that in music, you never know what's going to happen. All my life, I was doing fashion as well before. So all my jobs have been very like, and now I recently started working in a kitchen, in a vegan kitchen. And I love it because I studied cooking years ago. So that's kind of like, I love doing it. And that's kind of like my plan. If everything goes like to hell, I would really like to start working in the kitchen again and cooking.
Yeah.
Doing all that.
Did you like modeling? Or is it just full of creeps?
No, to be honest, like, I didn't have experience in that sense. Like I didn't, but also because I was always very like, doesn't mean that that's wrong because some girls put the boundary and they don't have it. But like, I guess, I don't know. I just was very lucky. I never had like an issue. But I didn't like it because I found it very, very boring. It didn't like challenge my brain at all. And I felt very like lonely and very bored.
Yeah. I mean, the times that I've had to have like PR photos taken or something like that, and you're just standing there and you're just like, for the listener, I just put a fake smile on my on my mug. I'm just like, and they're just like, this, now do this, and you're just like, you're basically just like a meat puppet for someone for a while. It seems not only not intellectually challenging, but almost insulting, probably, if you're conscious. If you're like, if you, I guess you could zone out and maybe it could be meditative in some way, I suppose. But
yeah, I used to like plan my life while doing that. I would like in a shoot for 10 hours and then my brain was somewhere else completely. Like I was not there.
Sorry, did you just say 14 hours?
No, 10 hours.
Oh, 10. Still.
Yeah, it's still a lot. Yeah.
Oh, 10. Well, 10's
No,
easy.
10, no,
14. 14's crazy. 10's easy. That's when you decided to be in a punk band. Like, what was I guess I don't know really much. Was this in Montevideo? Montevideo. Again, apologies that I'm butchering any other language. What was the music scene like when you were a teenager?
It was actually quite punky, at least on my friends. I went to quite a proper school, but my friends were like not as proper as the other people. And then I started going out to gigs and I started being friends with other people that went to gigs, and I got really into the punk scene at that time. And I think in South America there is like a big punk scene, and because there's always like political stuff going on or whatever. People are like really want to rebel in some way. So yeah, I think it was that. And then obviously like the Britpop British thing when to Uruguay as well. I never got into it too much, to be honest, but that was like another big thing. Like all the bands wanted to.
Were you a good student?
I was a good student if I wanted to be. Like I was very good at literature, history, math. But then like biology, I didn't give a shit. So like I didn't do any effort. I just didn't. Yeah, was very bad at it.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't pay attention. So can I swear? Because I've been swearing the whole time. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Because I've been swearing, and I'm like, how am I allowed to swear?
Yes, you can say whatever you want. This is not. I'm not going to police anyone's language. Well, I guess if you said something, which I don't think you would, but if you said something like racist or something, I probably would stop you.
Yeah,
But like, I was always scared of not doing what was expected of me. I was always scared of, and I think Josephine, maybe you're closer to me in this. Like, I was expected to be a good student. I was expected to go to college. I was expected to do all this stuff. And it took me a long time to get over that shit. It was always very present in my mind to the point where it, I can say this now, but at the time, like I didn't even know what I wanted because that stuff was overcrowding my brain. And it seems like, Augustina, you at the very least had room to kind of choose what you wanted at a young age. Like there was no pressure on you from anywhere, from not even just like your parents, but like society or anything like that. There was no.
Oh, there was. There was pressure from society and stuff. More like I think from the school I went, like it was just there was a pressure for me to be a certain way, but I didn't want to do it, so I didn't do it. I never felt that pressure, which is amazing in many ways, but also it's very like dangerous sometimes for my own sake. I just don't feel like that social pressure for doing things or like saying the right thing or like being polite when you have to be polite. I don't know. I find that very like I feel very trapped when that.
Can you talk to me about that a little bit? Because were you always like that, or were there like just times where you started to feel this pressure and you're just like, fuck it, and I'm going to do what I want? Like I'm very curious about that because I always did feel the pressure and then I buckled to it for most of my life.
No, I think it was the teenage times, and this is gonna be a cliche, but I think the Ramones really like made me feel like I was free. Before I felt as a child, I was very shy and I felt the pressure to like be good in school, and I would feel really guilty if I was not good in school or if something went wrong. And then I think honestly, like the music and the Ramones, it just made me feel like whatever, like not whatever in like, oh my God, punk all the time, but in whatever, like nothing is that terrible or nothing, Obviously, it doesn't mean that I don't get sad or that I don't get depressed or upset. Obviously, I do, but it's just...
Yeah, but that it gave you this kind of freedom in a way that you hadn't had that before. I'm jealous of that you grew up with that. Because I just felt, I always felt so boxed in. And even now, like a little bit, because I still have to, sell a script or something like that. So I can't, if executive sucks, I can't tell them to fuck off. I have to politely smile.
I have gotten better at it though, because I think also being in the band with the girls have helped me a lot to be less like, oh, fuck off. And I'm more like, okay, I'm going to think about it.
Maybe let's just wait to say that.
Yeah. And that was really good because I think it's a good level. And also for the band together, it's a good level between us. Because extreme that we all get together and we're different, but we kind of have...
Yeah, we learn so much from each other because often we see like things from a different angle. And just to have someone to sort of discuss that with, to come to some sort of outcome or plan of action for the band, that's super helpful.
Josephine, are you similar to me? Did you feel boxed in by expectations or other things, or were you able to, you said you went to study, music pretty much right away. So obviously you had some kind of freedom, but what did you feel inside?
I don't think it's ever been like said to me, like, we want you to do this. It's never been that like sort of clear, sort of verbalized expectation ever. I think it's always been really, like there hasn't been one. And I think I've had a lot of freedom in that. But I do think I put that onto myself just by sort of witnessing how like my parents' work ethic or like what they've been able to achieve, how they stuff like that. I think if anything, like I felt like I also want to sort of live up to that to an extent. Or like I think I just learned how to, they've just set like a kind of a good standard in like, you have to, like if you're going to succeed in anything, like you need to apply yourself or you need to be clever about it. But I don't think they've ever sort of said that to me. I think it's just something I've absorbed by being around that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So how did you get over your own internal kind of this osmosis that you suck into your brain? How'd you get over that?
I don't think I have. I think I'm still very much like, I need to do this. I'm 32. I need to achieve this and that. And I think like even with the band, like I was working, like I've been in bands since I was 15, and I love doing it, but I've never sort of taken it as like, or rephrased it to a career from hobby until literally, well, 2.5 years ago when our first album came out, and I actually had to quit my full-time job to be able to do it. So I don't think I've let go of that. And I think even like whilst doing music, I'm studying on the side. I'm doing a lot of like non-band related things to make sure that like I'm still meeting this sort of expectation I have of myself on the side. So yeah, I think it's still very much present.
I like this because I can kind of see the dynamic between you two as representative of a dynamic in the band. Obviously, there's other people in the band, but like I can kind of see the push and pull and how it works versus like sometimes like, you talk to people and it's just like, wait, how do you guys operate? Like you guys are in the same band together? Because it seems there's, you know what it is? And maybe it's because it is more egalitarian, but like when there's like a clear, like, front person for a band, the character of their personality influences the rest of the group. But it seems with you guys, there's this more kind of like push and pull, more like, well, the band is all of us together. Does that make sense? Is that right?
Definitely. Yeah, it's very equal band. Like I feel like everyone's got the same amount of sort of weight to their opinions and voices. I think we always take everyone's input as sort of the same level. But in that sense, I don't think we have like that clear sort of cut like front person, band leader. I think we all have very different roles in the band as well, which has sort of worked out really well with our types of personalities, which is quite fun. So like, we divvy up everything to kind of interest us and suit us.
Yeah, and we all work really hard because I think that's something that we all have in common, that even if we're different in other ways, we all believe that you have to work hard to get whatever you want. Even if it comes from like impulsivity or overthinking or whatever, like you have to work hard. That's something that
you do.
It's not negotiable.
And it's amazing that we all do align on that, because I think like if you don't, I think that can cause a lot of like band tension or whatever, if you feel like there's just one person that's pulling this whole machine along, and if that person doesn't do it, it's not going to get done. And I think that would just be absolutely exhausting, because I think also in the end of the day, like we're in a band and we play music together, but also we are running a business together. And sometimes you just have to treat it like that, because to make this thing sustainable so that we can continue to do it and take it seriously. So yeah, it's like you got to sort of put an effort in if you want some sort of result, I think.
Yeah, are you comfortable with the business aspects? Now, Josephine, your parents ran a business, so I have to imagine that you are okay with it. But Augustina, coming from playing in punk bands, are you comfortable with the corporate end of the way art functions in the 21st century?
I do like that I do like running a business, yeah. Also, like, I do play in punk bands, but I'm not a punk. So it's not that I'm like, oh, I am a punk rocker. Just want to say that. I do think, obviously, it has really bad things and really good things. I think musicians, we should get paid more and stuff like that, obviously, yes. But I do enjoy a lot running a business with the girls. I think it's very interesting. We all like learn a lot, and it's just an interesting job to have.
Yeah, it really is.
It's very 24/7 though. And that's sometimes a little bit like swan for rest.
It's absolutely no routine whatsoever, and it's hard to create one because they're just never going to be one.
The number of irons you have to have in the fire just to like, if you can see, there's my cork board of the corner. Where's there we go. Of like the projects that I have to, because I'm like, well, if this one, any of them could sell.
Yeah.
and one of them has to. So like I have to have 10 different things with the expectation that maybe one will actually turn into whatever, a TV show or a podcast or a comic book and I have to imagine there's the similar kind of exhaustion from doing any kind of art on this level in the 21st century, from whether it's music or film or whatever.
Yeah.
Or writing.
Yeah. And I think that's like, it gets forgotten a little bit. It's like you just see this like front end of the band, which is the music, and it's like the fun videos and artwork, and like that's amazing. That's so much fun to do. But there is so much other things that I think people don't think about, like all the logistics that needs to happen. And all the like making sure you got money to pay for these things that needs to happen. And they're like, you need to be on top of it to be able to actually be sustainable. And I think it's just like kind of forgotten, because like I think, you're in a band, you just like play music all day long. And I'm like, no, I think we do like 10% of playing music. The rest is just pure admin or like actually
emails,
really boring stuff.
Filling out tax forms.
Exactly.
Okay, we're right at the end of the show. There's one thing I want to go back, because we kind of skipped over this a little bit. I'm curious, Josephine, let's start with you. But like, what would a typical day have been when you were a kid? Like, is it just going to school and then going to the horse riding and doing that? Or like, what is your life like then?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, it would be school. I live quite like a bit outside of town, so I'd probably get like a really early bus in the pitch black if it's winter, and go to school, and then you finish around 2, 3, and I'll take the bus back home, and then I would just be in the stable for probably 3, 4 hours, and then I'll come home.
Like riding, or just like cleaning? Like, what are you doing?
Riding, cleaning. Like you have to, I don't know, one big amazing thing that is like growing up around animals is that you get from a very young age taught that you have to take responsibility for these animals and make sure they survive and have everything they need. So it's like, that was like never any compromise. Like it was like, if you're going to have animals, you take care of the animals and it's your responsibility. So it was like very little flexibility of just having a day off after. I would always just come back home, have a snack, go out, and ride, muck up, whatever, help out on the farm. And then I'd come home and do my homework and go to bed. Really boring.
but I see how the idea of like being responsible kind of gets into your bones from an early age, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is interesting, and I thought about this for a second, then it kind of went out of my brain, but like the days are different, right? When you're that far up in the globe, like how dark is it, or how light is it? Like, what is is it like when I watch a Nordic crime thriller? Is it like that?
The winters are brutal. Like it's pitch black until about 9 a.m. and then it's pitch black after 2, 3 p.m. So you don't get loads of daylight and it's freezing. But in the summer, it's kind of the opposite, which is amazing. So then you have like super, super long evenings and it barely gets dark at all. So you get, both.
Well, you have to be organized then, right? There's it's not just the horses. It's also like I have 5 hours of daylight and I got to get shit done.
You got to get shit
5
done.
hours.
Yeah.
And so I better have, and Augustine, I'm kind of curious, you said you grew up between Montevideo and the countryside. Mm-hmm. What was a day like in each of those places?
In Montevideo, I wake up at like 7 and go to school until 5.
Oh, until 5?
Yeah. I had like English.
That's late.
And Spanish. So the morning was English, the afternoon was Spanish. So I had like all the subjects in English and Spanish. It was not very like long.
Wow.
So I'm like 5 until I was like 15. And then I did handball after that. Just a sport that's
a Swedish thing. Yes, handball. Massive in Sweden. Massive in Uruguay. Nothing in the UK.
Nothing here. We were trying to find like a place to go.
Yeah, handball team.
But yeah, then I'd be humble 2 or 3 times a week. I'll see my friends and then I'd go home on the weekends. Like Friday, probably go to my grandmother's house in the countryside. And yeah, just basically like wake up really early and then go for a big walk, or just, yeah, more similar to Josephine's day to day.
Okay, so then I gotta ask you, because it seems crazy to go to school for 10 hours? Is that 10 hours? I'm doing the math right? 7 to 12, that's
Yeah, it
5.
was like 9 hours. Yeah.
That seems so constricting to me that I want. Okay, this is just armchair psychology, aka bullshit. But like, I have to imagine that like it feels like a straitjacket if you're an impulsive person.
Yeah, it was. So when I turned 15, I went to a public school instead. And in Uruguay, education is very good, even if it's public or private. And yeah, that was like 5 hours. So I was like, yay!
But I can kind of see, like, again, how you develop. Again, this is just easy psychology, but like how you like, if it feel like if you're stuck in this thing for most of the day, like you'd want to start pushing against that, and like the minute you can get out of it, then you kind of like burst into freedom. Like, I don't know if this will translate at all. The Kool-Aid man bursting through a wall. Does that make any sense? You are both younger than me and from different countries. The Kool-Aid man is the mascot of the Kool-Aid, and it's a big pitcher of Kool-Aid with a human face on it, and he bursts through walls to give kids Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I'm imagining.
I think I know what you mean.
I'm imagining, Augustina, that is you as a. Could I have come up with a better metaphor? Probably.
Very common to have that. In Uruguay, schools are like that. Like they are education is very good, and you have like all the subjects, and like I had Portuguese and Spanish and English, and then like you could choose like French. It was just education in Uruguay is very complete in a way. So all my friends went to different schools like that. Everyone that I knew.
But did you like it?
I love it because I have so many friends. So I enjoyed it.
But did you like the structure of it?
I like it depending on the day. Like if it was like history and subjects that I like, yeah. If it wasn't, I would really suffer. I don't know if I like the structure. I had a really good time, to be honest. Like, I don't have a bad memory from it.
So then, like, saying you're an impulsive person, is that just like some irreducible part of you? Like, were you always like that, or do you develop? Because in my mind, this is what I'm saying, is that like you become impulsive because you have this like structure placed on you for.
I think I've always been impulsive. It's quite like a woman in my family are quite impulsive. I think I kind of like grew up with that as well. I think people also tend to think that impulsive is irresponsibility, and that's not true or fair. Like the women in family are very hard work women all their lives, and like they're just impulsive with things. But that doesn't mean that in my family or they haven't teach me the worth working and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's very different things, I think. And yeah, I was always impulsive. Also, if you're a teenager and you're going to high school and your parents are like, go to high school, there's not much you can do. You're like underage, so you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And my cat is trying to eat my dinner.
Yeah. Well, yes. As you maybe my cat down here you can see is also running around. So thank you both for being on the show.
Well, thank you so much.
How do you feel? Good, bad?
Good.
After talking,
it was really good. Yeah,
it's really nice.
Yeah,
it's definitely questions that I haven't had to think about for a while or ever.
Yeah, that's the thing. I never know how people are gonna take that. Whether it's just like, why'd I have to talk about this? I just want.
No, it's really nice. It's
very good.
Yeah, it's nice. It just feels more like a chat than anything else. Yeah.
So you never know. Sometimes people are just like, hey, I just wanted some softball questions about. Like, yeah, I love playing live. It's great.
How did you come up with the band name?
Always one.
The worst fucking question. Is there ever like a good answer to that? Like, I know when I was in a band, we were just like, I don't know. Like when I was in a band, there was a TV show. Is this over in Europe? Mystery Science Theater 3000. There was a TV show called Mystery Science Theater 3000, and one of the episode titles, we just took the name from one of the episode titles. I was like, is that
right? Job done. It usually isn't more to it than that, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Because even if you
funny.
think about it, even if you like make lists. I remember when I was on improv teams in New York at UCB, and we made lists of, what is the name going to be? What is the name going to be? You just pick one at the end. You're just like, I guess that one's the least embarrassing.
Yeah. That's it.
We all agreed on, now I'm just like angry at other people who do interviews. I'm just like, we all agreed on it. I know this because I get asked these questions.
I love it.
Anyway, thank you both. This was such a delight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Good night. Have a good day.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, oh, 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 bye.